Well, hello and welcome to my latest video. Now I thought I'd have a look at a bit of retro gaming, and this is more for the benefit of some people who I've encountered on some live streams of fellow retro gamers, and one that was mentioned in one that I was involved in yesterday. I mentioned that one of my least favourite games on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum was US Gold's pretty pitiful port of Kung Fu Master, which is also known as Spartan X in Japan, I believe, which is actually the name given to the Hong Kong film Wheels on Meals over there. So anyway, let's get on with this. Oh God. Now, when you first see that screen draw, you think, well, that looks quite colourful. The Spectrum can do some pretty good colours. And then you get this horrible beeper tune, which not only is not at all in the original arcade game, and I'd be hard pressed to think it was in any other version for any other system. Oh dear me. That really is like urinating on a well-cooked meal, isn't it? Okay, controls. Define keyboard. Left, right, up, down, kick, punch. So we'll start this. Now, anyone who's played other versions of Kung Fu Master will know that it's 5 levels of trying to battle your way to the top of the tower to rescue your girlfriend, who I believe is called Sylvia in the original. Strangely enough, in the Wheels on Meals film I mentioned, it's actually the girl they rescue in that is called Sylvia. Well, one of the two they rescue. Okay, let's get this sucker going. And we get treated to some more absolutely melodic, shambolic nonsense. I'm presuming there must have been a rights issue that prevented them from putting in anything even remotely like the music that didn't. Oh dear. Look at that horrible attribute clash. And look at that, even when you jump in front of the window it clashes. And again, this music is not like one that plays in the original game. Why have they got this? Oh God, that was bad. Even the second screen I got wiped out. Such a shame, because when you look at the graphics in stills, that actually really does look colourful and impressive. I mean, it's only really colour clash when you're not near anyone. As soon as you get to them, it's off. Well, that took off a bit much. Another thing, because it does that push scroll rather than proper scrolling, it's quite often hard to time your kicks and punches correctly. Some of the hit detection's a little off in this at times. I'm sure there are times where I'm sure I didn't even touch. Damn scrolling. Another thing that's really bad about this conversion is how slow it is. I mean, it's really quite rapidly paced in the original version, but this, oh my goodness. Oh God, didn't. That music is really starting to grate. I'm actually glad he retreated in the opposite direction then. See, why did they think it was a good idea to have it on different colours? As soon as they walk past each other, because you can only, in each 8x8 character square, you can only have a foreground colour and a background colour, or ink and paint colour respectively, as Spectrum called them. It meant that there was some colour compromises as they walked past one another. Especially as the ones that the cyan ones that throw knives walk backwards. I mean, I know the Spectrum had colour clash issues, but that is very bad. I mean, this was 1986, remember? I know that some earlier typers just ignored the problem, just got on with things, but by this point we were starting to get far better designed graphics that had little to none of this stuff. Oh, that didn't even touch me. That knife clearly went below me. And more mind-blowingly brilliant music, said no one ever. Oh, dear me. It's so frustrating. I mean, if you saw a screenshot like this on the back, you'd think, wow, that looks pretty impressive for a Spectrum. And when you look at just these backgrounds, it does. There's nothing in that would make you think that you were buying poo on basically a poo sandwich. But it's when you actually play the thing that you realise that you've been sold a dud. Again, that guy was actually supposed to stop right next to me like that one there just did, but because of that annoying way this version scrolls, it meant your timing's thrown completely off and everything's out of whack. Oh God, this is really not very good at all. And Spectrum was a great machine, and it could have done, and even for its time, it could have done so much better than this. Although I've not played it, there is actually a homebrew version that came out in 2018 called Mr. Kung Fu. And one good thing it did was do away with all the enemies being different colours, so there was absolutely no attribute problem whatsoever. And not to mention, it used the music from the original arcade version. It was much faster, it scrolled smoothly, none of this not scrolling until you get to the edge of the screen and then doing that ugly push scroll. Ugh, goodness. I mean, if you think about the computer and console wars that happened back when the various machines had differing technical capabilities. I'd say if you wanted to show what the Spectrum can do, even back in 1986, you would not have wanted to put this piece of plop on. All your friends that owned the C64s and Amstrads would have just laughed their heads off. So look, that middle character with the hat on is supposed to be cyan, but because of the colour clash, it's the same colour as the other two enemies. It's even more embarrassing when you jump from the window and you get colour clash there, because that actually contains the same colour as your sprite. Which suggests that the level that's actually red on the windows is the same as what's making your character white. they designed the windows so it was the other, the colour information was the other way around, that would have had no colour clash whatsoever. So they can't even get that right. I'm trying to think whether the main character you control in this game is called Thomas, because one of the characters in Wheels on Meals was also called Thomas. I mean, the girl you're rescuing is called Sylvia, just like one of the female characters in Wheels on Meals, which is a great Hong Kong movie and comes highly recommend it. In fact, a brilliant version came out on UK Blu-ray, and I actually got it, and it's still a brilliant film. Oh God, I'm nearly dead. At least the jumping kicks there still connect, but you just have to time them correctly. Why do they hold their bums as they fall down? What's that all about? Why can't they just fall like you do when you die? At least that would make sense. I mean, I've just been punched in the stomach. I'll just hold my arse as I fall off the bottom of the screen. Oh, must have... I'm not sure. I think I picked up an extra life somewhere. Oh, goodness. Another thing, when the screen gets busy, the music breaks up, like it did a moment ago when there were about 3 or 4 men on the screen. That scrolling is really not very good. The Spectrum can do so much better. I mean, look at something like R-Type or Green Beret, which is called Russian, the latter being called Russian Attack in the States. I mean, both of those had colour and had much better scrolling than this. Why did they pick magenta for the main character? They can be hard to see against the red of those pillars. I mean, about the only good thing about this version over other versions is you don't have to waggle your joystick or hammer key senseless. If someone's next to you, you can just leave it, and it's no more damaging than if you were to waggle yourself like you had to in the original arcade version, which saves wear and tear. But that's one of the few good things about this Spectrum port. Look, that punch didn't even connect. What are you talking about? This is actually starting to get quite dull now. I mean, it was a simple game to start with, but at least in the original version, it scrolled and was faster, and had far more better driving music. Far more better driving. That's not really good grammar. Dear. This is really embarrassing. Look at that colour clash. I can't understand why it's that bad. It's almost like there's about a whole character's worth of blank colour in front of and behind them. It causes... Oh, the music's changing. I'm getting very close to the boss. Gee, that was so hard, I was sweating buckets. More rather insipidly bad music. Ugh, I'll turn that off, God's sake. Right, now this next level has things dropping from the ceiling. Now, if you remember in the original arcade version, they dropped at quite a rate. But look at that, look how slow they fall. And I hit that snake, I'm sorry, that kick clearly connected. I mean, look how slow this is. That hit again. Oh. Yeah, that's one thing, it's accurate to the arcade. If you get hit by the fire from those dragons, it kills you instantly. Ooh. I mean, in the original arcade version and in some of the other versions. Ugh. Oh, blast you. Something's wrong with my keyboard. I tried to put an X there, but for some reason it's decided to put a 0. There must be some kind of mapping. Oh God, that music. So, now I've turned that music off, what do I think of this game? Well, as you can probably tell, I'm not a massive fan of this pretty poor conversion. I mean, not only is it noticeably slower than the original version, but it's got some poor choices of graphics design. The enemies should not have been different colours, because especially the knife throwers being a different colour to the other enemies, because especially as they can walk backwards, because when they all cross over each other you get rather unsightly attribute clash. Same goes when the enemies get close to you. Some of the hit detection is a little off. Sometimes it goes in your favour, and they can be about half a centimetre in front of your fist or foot, and they'll still fall to their deaths off the screen. And other times, particularly when the game's in mid-scroll, it's much harder to time. You actually have to time your strike earlier than you would have done had it been a non-scrolling screen. This does take some getting used to, and even when you are used to it, it's still very easy to fluff it up the timing. Sound is pretty poor. I mean, the Spectrum 48K had its limitations with sound anyway. The sound wasn't one of the Spectrum's strong points, but even so, it could at least have had music that was at least somewhat listenable. This is just discordant nonsense most if not all of the time, and although it is interesting to have music playing in the background during play, not only is the tune that plays not particularly enthralling, but when there's lots going on screen, it does noticeably break up the notes, and the sound when you kick and punch someone isn't particularly great. I mean, if you compare that to the crunchy sound effects played when you hit someone in Way of the Exploding Fist, which actually came out before this, you can get a better idea of just how good a martial arts striking sound can be. This just falls way short of that. Playability, it's, as I said, the game's quite slow, and timings can be a little bit hard when the screen does that forced push scrolling as you reach the edge of the screen. And rather embarrassingly, that boss which you saw me do not so long ago, for the most part he barely even moves and just stands there and hardly ever strikes you. So he's actually a lot easier than the rest of the level you've just been through to get there. No, this isn't a good version. So disappointing game all round. I give it 4 out of 10 overall. I mean, it's not the worst Spectrum game out there, but it's one of those that should have been a lot better than it was. And this was actually a full price game, and you'd be heartbroken if you're a kid back in 1986 and got this for your birthday or Christmas, or worse still, if you paid for it out of your own pocket money. It just falls short on so many levels, and is probably the start of when US Gold started to release some rather bad conversions. Anyway, I'm ending this video now, so hopefully catch you again on another one. Texie88 out.